the Democratic Party as usual.
Oh, we're all disappointed in the Democratic Party.
They sit up there. They take their $100,000 a year, if not more. They have
It's 145, I think.
Their families have insurance till they die. They do not represent us anymore. They don't represent the Democrats. And I don't know how the Republicans feel about their representation. Then they fold.
If I was a Republican, I'd be pretty fucking mad.
And listen, I love our federal workers. I'm so thankful for them. I'm really sorry that they had to work without their pay.
The modem restarted or some shit.
But we should.
I feel like that was a internet company did that.
Illegal.
We're back on Twitch War Machine. Everything went down.
Our premiums. That's Republicans' premiums. That's all of our premiums.
Yes.
Summer, are you on the ACA?
No, ma'am. I have no insurance whatsoever.
Is that because you can't afford it, or you've decided not to have insurance?
I just recently started my own business, and I was on 10 Care here in the state, and I let go of it because I do plan on getting ACA. So it's my
if it doesn't triple on you.
Because of it,
have you looked into what the premiums would be for you?
I did years ago, and it was too much. It was too much.
Well, it's gone up since then, ma'am.
Now that I'm starting my own business, I'm very slow on clientele, so it's going to be at least 3 years before I can afford insurance again.
All right. James Irwin, Pennsylvania, Republican. Good morning, James. You're on the air.
Good morning, Amy. Listen to all these comments, and both sides, the one caller was right. We have to come together. The problem is, though, Mimi, in America, the Affordable Care Act it's not possible. The premiums are going up, and the problem is the left wants the American people to pay for the subsidy, which is over, $1 trillion. They say let it go for 1 year.
Medicare for all.
2, 3, and 5 years. And if the Republicans do get out, if the Democrats get back in 2028, let's be honest, are they going to tear the wall down? We have 10 more, 15 more million illegals coming in.
Oh, my God.
Health care, take American jobs. It's both sides of the aisle, the Democrats and Republicans. None of them are any good. They're all old. They're all very wealthy. Let's just be honest. Insider trading. How much money is Nancy Pelosi retiring with?
It's not just Nancy, sir.
Mitch McConnell. Then you have Bernie Sanders. How does a socialist have 3 houses and he's worth millions of dollars and he wants freebies?
He's worth like $8 million.
It doesn't work. I'm Italian.
The 3 houses are modest.
She is coming around now. Spain went conservative. Viktor Orban in Hungary is conservative. China does not take in illegal immigrants. Japan does not take in immigrants. We're going to fail in this country. We're $38 trillion in debt if we don't come together, both sides of the aisle. And it just seems...
Everybody says we got to come together. That's what communism is, you dipshit.
Democrats to stay in power. If you're a Republican, you'll do whatever your constituents say to stay in power. Something's going to change, and I'm afraid. I'm an old guy, but I have grandchildren like a lot of people do. They're not going to have a country. Thank you very much.
You're an idiot.
Maryland Independent Line, you're on the air.
Hi. I just want to make 2 possibly polarizing points. The first one being that I find it very interesting to hear a certain sector of our society, as in, like I said, this is going to be polarizing, as in white people whining right now about what's going on in America when they participated in where we are right now. All of
Preach it, girl.
In America, they bring them into the black community. They are for that, a certain percentage. All those people that were out there with the No King's Day, all of those people were out there marching because they want illegals to stay in the country in black people's neighborhoods.
Wait, what?
So now that America, as in like...
Had me in the first half, not gonna lie.
People who are in charge, they're turning their backs on the everyday white person. They are upset They're whining on this. They're whining on here. I've been sitting here waiting, whining and whining. And then you have some black people, like the man, I can't remember where he was from, talking about talking to people, having conversations. And I hate when black people say that as if people don't know how they are, as if people who are racist, as if people who practice white supremacy don't know that.
So, Cypher, tell me about your neighborhood and the impact that you've seen from undocumented immigrants.
I'm seeing, so I live in a predominantly black neighborhood, black community, affluent black community, and I'm seeing an influx of immigrants, other groups of people just coming in, taking jobs that normally our teenagers had during high school and during college. It's a total shift and change, and I am so sick of black people voting for the Democratic Party against our own demise. We do not benefit from immigration. That is not something that we benefit for. So we have everyone sitting here that typically has participated in this American government, white, black, and everyone else, and now they're whining.
I'm stunned.
They're getting everything that they voted for.
Got it, Cypher. Bradley, Marietta, Georgia, Democrat, you're on the air.
Yes.
I am not high enough for this shit.
You just hear the embitteredness in her. Like, she's not wrong. She's not wrong except about one thing. The Latino community, they're basically just having us argue amongst ourselves over the scraps of things. And let's be clear about who's being exploited. The undocumented workers are the ones being exploited by these companies and employers. And how often do you see them get arrested? So they basically lure these people into the country. They don't have to pay them, what normal people get paid, and now they have to live in fear. That's what we're talking about, the coming together thing. I agree with that last lady. We don't need to come together with people who are outright destroying.
Bear, welcome in.
They say the same thing about us, which is absolutely just terrifying. And you're that one guy. He was like, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden," and yeah, it is shady how they made a couple $1 million, but he fails to mention the billions Trump is making. And my last point is he is murdering people.
She made more than a couple million, though.
Well, that is illegal. He is just killing people just kind of a whim. I mean, Republicans, and I guarantee.
And I don't even know which scenario he's talking about.
He's making billions.
The supposed drug-running boats.
Stays 1 second past into his third term, the Civil War starts. It's awful.
So, Bradley, regarding the Caribbean, this is the New York Times this is the latest aircraft carrier.
Oh yeah, this is scary. Venezuela apparently mobilizing their military.
The arrival bolsters the extensive deployment of American forces in the region. Britain has ceased sharing some intelligence with the United States because of concerns over boat strikes. That's New York Times, and this is Andrea, Indiana Republican. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning. I think we're missing the question is, why do we have 42 million people that need assistance in America?
Capitalism.
We need to fix that problem before we do any of the other issues. And that's all I had to say.
And
I agree.
In Chicago, Illinois, Independent. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you? And
Good.
Thank you for taking the call. I have a couple of things. I know I don't have much time, but my concern, I was a Republican, and I would never, ever go to Republicans that doesn't have feet to stand on, doesn't have a voice to speak, doesn't have ears and eyes, the ears to hear and eyes to see. The so-called president of the United States are playing every one of us. For one, I'm so upset because he tore down, he demolished a 182 history. No one has ever done that. Why aren't people angry about that? That's we the people, our place that he tore down without asking any of us. Remodeled the White House and his marble and gold because he's planning on not leaving. Have our military men, if the Honorable John McCain and the Honorable Colin Powell were here, the Honorable Elijah Collins, this wouldn't be like this.
None of those three men are honorable.
My dad is in his grave, rolling over. Our military men, who I respect, to come out to terrorize, to mobilize, and beat us down, the taxpayer, on our money. How can anyone say that it's okay for him to be in office?
Why are flags half-staff?
The Republicans should not have a seat to sit at. All of them need to go home. The Supreme Court has taken our judicial system and made it the three branches into one and gave their powers to him. This is sad. We all need to get together and stand up. This is not a black thing. This is not a white thing. But right now, it's a hunger. It's a thirst that has happened because he himself and those who honor him and does not say God's name, does not say Jesus' name, but they say Trump every day. This has to stop. We are, and another thing, yes, we have the ACA that they're speaking about, but America is what you allowed in it. They have allowed this disaster to come in here.
Oh yeah, it's Dick Cheney.
We have communities of him
until the 20th.
Poor area. I'm proud to be
Terry. Welcome in.
A black woman that became successful enough, not through what no one else said, but myself and parents, to raise up, first of all, knowing God, love. But my thing, we have communities. We help one another. He's not beating us black people down. The white people are seeing and realizing that what we have went through. They have got beat by the National Guards out there. They went through what our ancestors has already went. We have struggled. So we know how to stand. We know how to fight with words and go out and march. So why don't they come on and look and see that the color isn't what everything that they're making it look like it is.
All right, Stacey, and that's it for today's open forum. But later, we've got Adam Gentleson of the Searchlight Institute. He joins us to talk about his organization and the future of the Democratic Party. But first, Ovik Roy of the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity.
Ovik.
His healthcare reform and a bipartisan path for addressing the enhanced ACA subsidies expiring at the end of this year. We'll be right back.
Commercial break on C-SPAN.
Get C-SPAN wherever you are.
Which basically just amounts to promos for other C-SPAN shit.
That puts you at the center of democracy, live and on demand. Keep up with the day's biggest events with live streams of floor proceedings and hearings.
The Congress is going to gavel back in at noon today.
From the world of
the vote
all at
to reopen the government expected around 4.
Washington
so sometime between noon and 4, I'll hop back on.
And radio networks, plus a variety of compelling podcasts. The C-SPAN Now app is available at the Apple Store and Google Play. Download it for free today.
Because who knows, I probably won't do the news again tonight. So we'll find out what that news be doing during the day.
Watch America's Book Club, C-SPAN's bold original series. Sunday, best-selling biographer Walter Isaacson, who chronicles history's most remarkable lives. His books include Benjamin Franklin, Steve Jobs, and Einstein. He joins our host, renowned author.
Those are the 3 people you pick?
Rubenstein.
What attracted you to these people? Was it because they were geniuses, or you just happened to like them?
I'd pick Jefferson, Frank Zappa,
you have to be creative.
Genghis Khan.
Box. And one of the things that struck me when I wrote about Benjamin Franklin early on was what a great scientist and technologist he was.
Watch America's Book Club with Walter Isaacson. Sundays at 6 p.m.
You like to play grab ass, too.
Eastern and Pacific. Only on C-SPAN.
And past president.
But who doesn't like to play grab ass, you know?
This is a kangaroo court.
Friday, C-SPAN presents a rare moment of unity, Ceasefire, where the shouting stops and the conversation begins. Politico Playbook Chief Correspondent and White House Bureau Chief Dasha Burns is host of Ceasefire, bringing 2 leaders from opposite sides of the aisle into a dialogue. Ceasefire on the network that doesn't take sides. Fridays at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Consensual grab ass is amazing. Highly encourage it. Always consensually grab asses.
Congressman Cohen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good C-SPAN still funded by the government.
It is not funded by the government. What do you mean?
Well, I thought you don't get any money from the government at all?
No, not at all, and we never have.
God, he's stupid.
Elon Musk, I'm sure he'd like to doge you.
Thanks for having me. Love C-SPAN. Appreciate the opportunity to come out.
You know, I wish we could have 1,000 C-SPANs across the media spectrum. Unfortunately, we don't.
I think C-SPAN is a huge, huge asset to America. Not just the coverage, that we get of both chambers.
He's the senator that talks to Nathan Fielder too during the rehearsal, season 2.
Personalities to come on and have this question time.
He also comes across as stupid then.
It's a huge benefit. I hope that all these streaming services...
I'm sorry, Congressman.
C-SPAN as well, because it's an important service to the American people.
I'm actually...
Congressman Cohen.
In Washington Journal, I'm getting a lot of really substantive questions from across the political aisle.
Our country would be a better place if every American just watched 1 hour a week. They could pick 1, 2, or 3, just 1 hour a week.
I watch way more than 1 hour a week of C-SPAN, sir. I'm a big fan.
Washington Journal continues.
Welcome back to Washington Journal. Joining us now to talk about the future of ACA subsidies is Avik Roy. He's co-founder and chair of the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity. Avik, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mimi. Nice to be with you.
So could you first start by telling us about your background in health policy?
Sure. So I've been involved in healthcare policy for about 15 years. Previous to that,
the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity. Let's find out what that is.
I invested in healthcare companies for a bunch of years, and then starting in about 2010, I started writing about the Affordable Care Act. I raised some concerns about how I thought premiums would go up rather than down. Because at the time, President Obama was campaigning on the promise that the ACA would decrease premiums. That's why it was called the Affordable Care Act. I was worried that the opposite would happen. And here we are 15 years later. I now have a number of roles in the health policy world, including as co-founder and chairman of a think tank, a nonpartisan, nonprofit think tank called the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity, or FREAP.
So tell us about...
Oh, no, this think tank sucks.
Well, one of the things that I learned in my time working in healthcare policy...
It's a libertarian think tank.
It's one of those funny issues where...
Focused on individual liberty, free enterprise, technological innovation, and pluralism.
Progressives and liberals are right to be concerned that healthcare is unaffordable.
Their main policy is Medicare Advantage for all. They want to expand Medicare Advantage, which is a scam,
and at the same time,
to everybody.
Are right to be very concerned
would establish a market system that allows individuals to choose health care from a variety of private insurance plans.
And they're also rightly concerned about how government policy has made health care more expensive and less flexible and less innovative and less...
it pushes voucher programs.
So our work at FREAP in healthcare and many other issues is to put those two things together.
Restricting the use of natural gas and subsidizing electric vehicles.
The sector is involved and where there's a lot of choice and innovation can serve Americans whose incomes or wealth are below the U.S. median. So at FREAP, we have a rule that all of our work has to, number one, expand individual liberty and support free enterprise, and number two, it has to meaningfully improve the lives of Americans.
Yeah, fuck this dude.
Wealth are below the U.S. median. So how do we show that actually Democrats and Republicans and the values they have can actually come together with the right solutions?
Well, let's talk about the big issue at hand here, which is the ACA enhanced subsidies expiring at the end of the year. You wrote an opinion piece for the Washington Post with the headline, "This bipartisan compromise could end the government shutdown, extend Obamacare's expiring subsidies, and permanently reform its costly insurance regulations." So first, you are in favor of extending the ACA enhanced subsidies?
Well, in the context of reform, so I think where what the lines you've heard or the lines you've read about if you followed this debate is that on the one hand, Democrats, Majority Leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer in particular, has advocated a permanent extension of enhanced ACA subsidies that were really originally meant as a temporary measure during COVID. It was originally a 2-year enhancement of the subsidies, and then it became a 4-year enhancement, and now many Democrats want those enhanced subsidies to be permanent. And this is, again, above and beyond the original subsidies that came with the passage of the ACA. that means temporary, so let's let them expire.
He might be mad at me. He was eating.
Was designed when Democrats passed it in 2021. So those are where
he got right back down, went right back to eating.
Republicans are at the moment. And what I've advocated and what we've advocated at FREAK is a kind of a middle ground on this, which is to say, let's have a temporary extension of the subsidies for 1 or 2 years to make sure that people who use Obamacare today are not massively disrupted in the kind of insurance they're able to afford. But use that transition period to actually reform the things about
Medicare for all.
The insurance on Obamacare is so expensive in the first place. So if you just subsidize the insurance without actually solving the underlying problem of why the insurance is so expensive, you're only papering over the problem. You aren't actually solving the problem. And there are several things that we can do to make the premiums lower than they are today. So just to give some examples of what the problem is.
Yeah, he needs to eat up because I'll probably take a nap with him before we get back on here and do the government reopening.
The average monthly premium for an Obamacare-like silver plan was $232 a month. In 2026, it's going to be $625 a month. So that's a difference of about $4,300 a year. And also the deductibles have gone up. The deductibles have more than doubled over that time frame, from I think about $2,300 to about $5,300. So the deductibles have more than doubled. The premiums have nearly tripled.
And the fix for this is Medicare for all.
Against President Obama's promise when he said, actually, when he was campaigning for this law as a senator in 2008, he said Obamacare was going to reduce the average family of four's health care costs by $2,500 per year. At this point now, we're up to about $10,000 or more for a family.
It curbed the rate of increase.
And that's the problem that we can fix if we fix some of the design flaws that were embedded in Obamacare.
Had Obamacare not passed, it's possible that insurance would be even more outrageous.
Specifically, do you want to see happen?
Yeah, so there's...
The data says it would be even more outrageous.
There's kind of a laundry list, but there's two that really matter in terms of the 80-20 rule. Of where do you get the most bang for the buck in terms of Obamacare reform? And there are two things that I talk about in that Washington Post op-ed that I would highlight as the most important things to fix. And they are basically, put simply, that we overly punish young people and relative to the old, and healthy people relative to the sick in Obamacare. We all know that one of the things that Obamacare supporters like to talk about is that the law requires insurers to offer coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. That's one of the features of the law that polls well and that a lot of people support. What a lot of people don't realize is what the law also does is it requires insurers to charge the same premiums to the healthy and the sick. And that causes a lot of challenges. So if you think about car insurance,
yeah, why wouldn't they?
You do a lot of accidents and you need to put a lot of repairs into your car, that costs money, and the insurers will charge you a higher premium for your auto insurance in next year.
Yeah, healthcare is not driving.
Money on repairing your car, they can't go broke. They need to charge you a higher premium to fund all those expenses. Whereas if you're really...
And what he's talking about, punishing healthy people, you need healthy people in the pool in order to pay for people that are sick.
Health insurance, it doesn't work that way because we think it's unfair to charge the sick a lot more than the healthy. Now, the way Obama...
So now why hasn't that happened yet, if that's so common sense, and Republicans have, since the beginning of Obamacare...
Because it's completely dystopian.
Why hasn't something like that been instituted?
Because your ability to be able to afford your cancer treatment shouldn't be...
Can be complicated. So...
Your ability to receive cancer treatment should be based on your income and what you can afford.
It should be regulated at the state level. Different states had different policies on this prior to the ACA. So for people who get insurance on their own, who don't get it from their employer or the government, where these rules are already in place, but for people, the 30 million people or 20 million people or 30 million people who buy...
I think the cat just came up here on me and farted and then jumped to the bed.
Their employer, or who just need it for other reasons. If you buy insurance on your own, that market now requires insurers to charge the healthy and the sick the same amount, effectively overcharging the healthy. And
that's what this dude's doing. He just came on C-SPAN and farted on us all.
If you are not forced to buy the insurance, the healthy person or the younger person says, you know what? This insurance is too expensive. I'm 27 years old. I'm in perfect health. I go to the doctor once a year.
But you don't know when you're going to have a catastrophic...
And yet, I'm being charged $7,000.
Incident. You don't know when you're going to develop cancer. You don't know when you're going to be in a car accident and break your fucking back.
If only sick people sign up for the insurance premiums go up in what people call the adverse selection death spiral. So that's the design flaw in the ACA, is that young people are overcharged to fund the sick, and healthy people are overcharged. Healthy people are overcharged to fund the sick, and young people are overcharged to fund the old. And so there are ways to fix that. And the ways to fix that are basically to directly subsidize, for all 330 million of us Americans, to directly subsidize the cost of covering those people with pre-existing conditions, those people who are ill, those people who are...
Just do Medicare for all.
Young and healthy uninsured people who are already struggling to afford coverage to pay that price. So hold them harmless. Let young and healthy uninsured people have actuarially fair premiums that represent the actual consumption of health care that they use every year. Have them have a fair price for health insurance, but let's all of us, all 330 million of us, pony up to help subsidize the cost of those sick and older.
Just banging my head against the wall.
The term for that in health insurance,
but listening to him feels like.
Some people call it a high-risk pool or an invisible high-risk pool, but the proper way to do this is using something called reinsurance. We use this in Medicare Advantage. So Medicare Advantage is the form of Medicare where private insurers...
Medicare Advantage.
It works extremely well there. A lot of other countries use reinsurance as well, and we can use it in Obamacare.
All right, and I'll just invite our viewers to start calling in now if you've got a question for Avik Roy of the Foundation for Research on Equal Opportunity, or FREAP. Anything about the ACA, about the subsidies, or about possible reforms, you can give us a call. Democrats are on 202-748-8000, Republicans 202-748-8001, Independents 202-748-8000.
I should call in and ream this dude about
called Medicare Advantage.
Medicare for all.
Patient-centered plan for universal coverage.
Say that Medicare Advantage is a fucking scam.
Somebody in Canada saying that he was very happy with their universal coverage in Canada. And
but he was lying, and my brother is a physician,
and
he says it's horrible.
You know, that he had a relative in Canada that it took a long time to see a specialist. So what are your thoughts on instituting something like that in the United States?
Yeah, it's so interesting, Mimi, because we actually, one of the studies that we do every year at FREAP is called the World Index of Healthcare Innovation. Your viewers can look it up at wihi.freopp.org. And there we look at the 32 wealthiest countries by GDP per capita that have, healthcare systems. And we say, okay, how do these healthcare systems compare against each other on things like quality, health outcomes, patient choice, science and technological innovation?
They have some form of single payer which covers a large majority of their
on our surveys
population.
That their healthcare system is much less expensive than the American system, but they have the advantage of having the U.S. as a backstop. So if you're
it produces better outcomes.
Or 2 years to get a hip replacement, you can just go across the border to Detroit or Buffalo and get treated, and that's not something.
And you still wait here. These motherfuckers act like you just walk into a hospital anytime you want and get something done.
It's made their system so much less expensive than ours, but it turns out that almost every country.
You'll wait for an elective surgery here as well, sir.
And there's a lot that goes into it that I'm happy to talk about. And basically, what it comes down to is we made two big mistakes in the 20th century. The first was in World War II, when all the men were off to war and women weren't yet really entering the workforce. The Roosevelt administration was really worried that there would be a labor shortage. There wouldn't be enough workers, and that would lead to really high labor costs. Wages would go spiraling up because there was a scarcity of workers, and that would mean prices for everyday goods and services would also go up, and that would lead to an economic crisis. So they literally produced a schedule that said, if you're a mechanic, here's how much you can make an hour. If you're a barber, here's how much you can make an hour. But what the loophole for that was, health insurance wasn't counted. So employers figured out that, yes, I may only be able to pay this mechanic 45 cents an hour in 1944 dollars, but they could offer health insurance. So all of a sudden we had this system in which employers were offering you health insurance instead of you buying it on your own. And then the Eisenhower administration made that tax-free, so you don't pay any taxes on the value of your health insurance that your employer sponsor for you compared to your wages, your salary, where you pay income taxes and state taxes and Medicare and Social Security taxes. You don't pay any of those taxes on health insurance offered by your employer. But if you buy insurance on your own, you have to do it in after-tax dollars after you've already paid all those taxes. So that means there's a massive economic advantage for employer-sponsored insurance. And that means that you yourself don't have the agency to shop for the best plan. Your employer just buys it for you. And that made Americans very complacent about how much value they were getting for the insurance that they
And you can't shop for a plan.
that system. And then Medicare and Medicaid.
Most states have one or two insurance providers.
Expensive. It's basically like going to an open bar and thinking, well, it's all paid for. I can choose the fanciest drink at the bar, because you don't think that you're paying the cost, but we're all paying the cost in the end.
All right, let's talk to callers and start with Dave in Wisconsin, Democrat. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. Yeah, when the ACA first came into effect, a lot of it had to do with pre-existing conditions. But in order to get it passed, it was pretty much a giveaway to the insurance companies. Now we're talking about health care, and all I hear is insurance.
Yeah, he loves giveaways to the insurance companies.
As supposedly rich as it is rich, but where's all the money? It's basically in one area. In order for the ACA to work, and it doesn't work for a lot of people, especially the middle income people. They have to pay way too much. Now, my situation, I got caught in between jobs where I didn't have any insurance. And I had some pretty serious health problems where I was in the hospital. Well, I got stuck with a bill I'll be paying for the rest of my life. A lot of what AC was trying to do is keep people from going bankrupt over health costs. And that happened. That was probably the primary reason for bankruptcy.
Number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical debt. A thing that does not exist in other countries.
Figure out some way to put in some kind of a single-payer system where everybody would be involved.
Oh, he ain't for that.
And, I don't know. You try to explain something like that, or...
Well, let's go back to Ovik Roy. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm really sorry you went through that episode. And by the way, there are a lot of services, nonprofit services.
Aardvark Roy over here.
Negotiate that hospital bill down, or hopefully get the rest of it forgiven. So if you reach out to me on Twitter, if you use Twitter, find me there, and I'll try to point you to some.
Get it down or forgiven. You know what? That's another thing, a hidden cost.
Why
that a lot of people don't talk about. How much time you have to spend on the phone with insurance companies and doctors and hospitals.
Which is true in pretty much every country, but you're not picking the insurance. A third party, your employer or the government, is typically buying the insurance for you. So you have no relationship to the cost and value of the insurance.
This is one of those fuckers like, we need a free market. It'll fix everything.
Market for people to buy insurance on their own that works and that protects pre-existing conditions and things like that.
And free markets don't fucking work.
In that sense, I totally agree with. And my criticism ever since 2010 has been that the design of the ACA was not...
For certain things. There are certain things that you can have a free market. Healthcare is not one of them.
Concord, New Hampshire, Republican. Hi, Dan. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. I think I have a little experience in this item because I've been an insurance agent for 35 years in the state of New Hampshire. So I'll give people a little historical perspective from my point of view.
Please.
So when I started in the business, I worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I became an individual agent. I went off on my own. There were bills passed in New Hampshire. It was a bill called 711 by Gene Shaheen that eliminated medical underwriting from all
7-Eleven
companies. And we all
testified
and said, if you eliminate medical underwriting, all the insurance companies are going to leave the state, and they all did. So our individual market went from probably 28, 30 companies down to about 5 or 6 or 7 companies. And then Obamacare came along, and Obamacare basically put a complete knife through the private healthcare system. Now we've got maybe, in New Hampshire we have like three. We have 3 companies on the exchange. But this is a lot more complex. I love what he said about the employer system. I agree with that after the war. But we also have malpractice is rampant in this country.
Once again, correlation doesn't equal causation. You saw.
And that drives defensive medicine. That liability insurance, malpractice insurance. Some OBGYN
consolidation in companies just because of mergers.
$1,000 a year for malpractice insurance. You have the problem of the uninsured, like you said. We had risk pool in New Hampshire.
It happened in every industry, not just healthcare.
And I always advocated for keeping risk pools to, like he said, talked about the people with pre-existing conditions, and maybe those people could get subsidies. But you've got to reform the private market. You've got to give incentives to insurance companies to go back in. They're not charitable organizations, okay? They're there to make money.
All right, Dan. Go ahead, Ovik Roy.
Yeah, all great points, and it's worth pointing out that New Hampshire, I don't remember if this is true this year, but for most years, when you look at the stats, New Hampshire has the most expensive premiums of any country or any state in the country. So New Hampshire has not solved its problems by getting rid of medical underwriting and some of those other things that happened in the pre-Obamacare days. Now, it's important to make a couple of points. One, I went to medical school. I have lots of friends who are doctors, and I hear this point about malpractice all the time. And actually, a number of people have looked into this. And how much, if you actually reformed malpractice litigation, how much would that actually save the healthcare system? And the answer is about 5%. So you would save something. 5% of the trillions of dollars we spend on healthcare. It's real money. It's not nothing. But the real drivers of the high cost of healthcare in the U.S., other than these underlying incentive problems I talked about before, the World War II changes and employer-sponsored insurance and all that, the biggest components of healthcare spending are hospital care, prescription drugs, and physicians, physician visits. Those are the big 3 categories. There's lots of other things too. And really, anywhere you look in healthcare, everything in America is much more expensive than it ought to be. It's not so much wasteful, like defensive medicine, we're doing too many tests, or, that there's wasteful care. Yes, there's wasteful care, but there's wasteful care in every country. The real problem is that the prices that American healthcare providers and drug companies and the like charge are 3, 5, 10x what they are in other countries. And the reason for that
is administrative costs.
Americans themselves don't have any agency in shopping for value.
So I did want to ask you about...
Not that there's a middleman.
Insurance companies are not...
taking the biggest cut.
...making profits. How much of these premium increases...
No, what this dude wants is more middlemen.
...insurance costs is going purely to profits in the insurance companies?
Yes, thank you, Mimi.
First of all, it's important to note that a lot of insurers are non-profit, quote-unquote, meaning they're 501c3 tax-exempt organizations, just like FREAP is. But non-profits are still businesses. They can't go broke, right? They have to collect in premiums or revenue enough to pay their bills. So this kind of non-profit term in the business world is a bit of a misnomer. It's really, there's tax-exempt structures and there's non-tax-exempt structures, and you can use either. But whether you're a non-profit hospital or a for-profit hospital, whether you're a non-profit insurer or a for-profit insurer, you still have to keep the lights on. You still have to make enough money to pay your people and to pay your bills. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, in terms of your question, Mimi, which is what percentage of healthcare spending is going to the insurers that they're keeping for their overhead and other things. It's a tiny percentage. It's under 5%.
However, this is a post by Donald Trump, who talks about the stock price of insurance companies with United Healthcare. This is between March 2010 and November 2025, that United Healthcare Group went from 1,177% in those 15 years after the Obamacare was passed. Those are stock prices. So how is it that you're saying that it's not... that as far as the insurance companies are only getting a small percentage in profit?
Well, there's a couple things. One, United Health Group is a very big company. The health insurance is only one of the things they do. The fastest growing part of their business is actually their non-health insurance component of their business, which is called Optum, that does a lot of different things, including pharmacy benefit management, artificial intelligence, a lot of tech-based stuff. They own a bunch of physician practices.
Pharmacy benefit management.
Complicated company that has a lot of different components to it. But again,
it's something other than insurance. They do
health insurance,
pharmacy benefit management.
There are more pure plays. So United's maybe not the best example, but health insurance stocks have done well since 2013, and that's largely because of Medicare. The baby boomers have retired. More baby boomers have obviously enrolled in Medicare as they turn 60.
Oh, this is infuriating.
Medicare Advantage plans, which are, again, the form of Medicare in which private insurers supply the Medicare benefit, have proven very popular. When Obamacare was passed in 2010, I think about 15%, 1/5 of seniors were in Medicare Advantage plans versus traditional government-run, single-payer, Bernie Sanders-style Medicare fee-for-service. So it was 85-15 back then. Today, about 55% of seniors are in Medicare Advantage, the private insurance form of Medicare.
That's not a good thing.
Are in the 1965 vintage traditional Bernie Sanders-style Medicare plan. So that's one of the things that's ironic when Bernie Sanders talks about Medicare for all. Medicare today,
and the people in those advantage plans don't like them and feel that they were duped.
Are making most of their money. It's actually in Medicare Advantage.
Let's talk to Ali in Lorton, Virginia, Independent Line. Good morning.
Good morning. Very quickly, 3 comments. First, I don't believe it was smart to choose comparing someone with a pre-existing condition with a bad driver who get into accident. Your guest lost me when he said that. I don't believe that was smart or sensitive. Second, please don't attack other countries' systems. The whole world, I believe the whole world is on single-payer system. It worked. For Americans who didn't.
Most of the world has some form of universal health care that contains a single-payer component.
For anyone else who lived abroad, it's working. It has a flaws that can be fixed, but it's working. And third, and thank you, Mimi, for your question about the stock prices and the shares. And again, your guest, I don't believe he was transparent about it. It is the cost of all the legal things that we are paying for and the lobbying effort, strangling the sources, buying a simple inhaler that is available in Egypt for 80 cents or in Germany for about $15, while you have to pay $150 for it here. It's a crime against the American people, and
yes,
your guest is not the best to present.
All right, well, let's get an answer from him.
Yes.
Well, let me
amazing call.
All 3 of those points, if I can, perhaps going backwards. So, first of all, I've spent the last 15 years of my career fighting against the high cost of American health care and recommending and proposing lots of policies to get it down. I completely agree with the caller that it's ridiculous that drugs and hospital care and doctor services and all these things, lab tests, cost so much more in America than they do elsewhere. And if you want to fix that, you have to understand, just like when you go to the doctor and a doctor diagnoses what's wrong with you and doesn't just give you aspirin to solve your problem, right? Similarly here, aspirin isn't going to solve the problem. You really have to get in and understand what is the underlying disease. And the underlying disease in the context of American health.
The fuck are you talking about?
Are these factors like the decisions we made in World War II and the Eisenhower administration in the 1960s that we're still living with today. So that's the thing that we have to fix, and I'm all for fixing it. And if you go to our website, you'll see a lot of writing about how to fix it. That's number one. Number two, about the point about it's not sensitive to compare a car insurance to health insurance. The point I'm trying to make is that economically you have to understand how the economics of insurance work. And if you ignore
the more people in the pool, the cheaper it is for everybody. So everybody being in the pool, i.e. Medicare for all, would be the best system. That's the economics that you're not telling people.
On the old, and it hasn't worked, and that's why premiums and deductibles have gone up so much. That's the problem we have to fix, and you can't fix that problem unless you understand why health insurance works differently than car insurance. And I completely agree with the caller that it's not someone's fault if they're born with a genetic disorder or they get cancer. We should try as a country to solve that problem, make sure that vulnerable populations have the support they need. I'm all for it. I'm for universal coverage. But there's a way to do it that works economically, and there's a way to do it that doesn't work economically. And unfortunately in America, for the last 80 years, we've chosen the wrong approach.
One of the recommendations from Senator Cassidy, who is a medical doctor and heads the health panel in the Senate, is HSAs, so health savings accounts for all Americans. Quickly, because we're running out of time.
The flashback to the Bush era.
Look, I think health savings accounts are valuable. I think they're important, particularly for funding everyday expenses like, very predictable things like your routine care, your lab tests, your routine office visits. They're not necessarily going to work for covering what happens when you have a stroke, or you have cancer, or you have a giant hospital bill like one of our earlier callers had. HSAs won't help you with that. You're still going to need insurance. And what I want, and I think what Dr. Cassidy wants, I think he's one of the smartest guys on healthcare in the Senate. But what I think I
will say Cassidy usually is good. Like he took RFK to task over vaccines.
Is shopping for their own health insurance rather than you getting it from your employer or the government. That's number one.
I totally disagree with him on HSAs. That's once again a neoliberal approach to healthcare.
Whether they're poor, whether they're vulnerable, whether they're sick, have the help they need to afford those premiums. And there's a way to do that, again, without punishing the young and healthy people who are also struggling for insurance. We talk about that a lot in that Medicare Advantage for All health reform plan that we've produced. There's actually been congressional legislation that's been introduced in both the House and the Senate called the Fair Care Act that is based on our work that would solve these problems, that would reduce the underlying cost of health care. It would make the system more fair in terms of covering all vulnerable people who need an affordable option, but do so in a way that reduces the federal deficit and puts us on a fiscally sustainable path.
All right, that's Avik Roy, co-founder and chair of Foundation for Research and Equal Opportunity.
Get this fucker out of here.
.org. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Mimi.
Coming up, Adam Gentleson of the Searchlight Institute on the future of the Democratic Party. We'll be right back.
Oh, well, this should be good. Let's look up what the Searchlight Institute is.
And past president, why are you doing this? This is outrageous.
I could imagine, like, if I die and some
C-SPAN presents a rare moment.
Some investigator is looking through my search history, it would boggle their minds.
Politico Playbook chief correspondent and White House bureau chief Dasha Burns is hosted.
This is a new think tank. It is just
sides of the aisle into a dialogue. Ceasefire on the network that
just launched this year, apparently.
At 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, only on C-SPAN.
America marks 250 years, and C-SPAN is there to commemorate every moment, from the signing of the Declaration of Independence to the voices shaping our nation's future. We bring you unprecedented all-platform coverage, exploring the stories, sights, and spirit that make up America. Join us for remarkable coast-to-coast...
I'm trying to find some info on this Searchlight Institute.
Like no other network can. America 250. Over a year of historic moments. Only on the C-SPAN networks.
Watch America's Book Club, C-SPAN's bold original series. Sunday, best-selling biographer Walter Isaacson, who chronicles history's most remarkable lives.
The former chief of staff to Fetterman and a top aide to Harry Reid.
Renowned author and civic leader David Rubenstein.
What attracted you to these people? Was it because they were geniuses, or you just happened to...
The Searchlight Institute's goal is to push the Democratic Party towards the most effective, broadly popular positions, regardless of which wing of the party they come from, with an eye towards 2028.
What a great scientist and technologist.
Let me guess, none of the positions are going to be leftist.
Isaacson, Sundays at 6 p.m.
The think tank's mission is described by these people as an explicit rejection of purity tests that they see as holding the party hostage.
Get C-SPAN wherever you
The most famous of which became fodder for a highly effective ad Donald Trump used against former Vice President Kamala Harris during her campaign to recapture the presidency. So what they're going to say is that we need to stop focusing on trans issues, which is absurd.
The courts. Campaign.
I give you Zohran Mamdani, who absolutely supported trans rights and one-handedly.
TV and radio networks, plus a variety of compelling podcasts. The C-SPAN Now app is available at the...
One person directly familiar with the project, granted anonymity to describe private details, said its aim will be to create an institutional space where Democrats can think freely and put those ideas out into the world. So this is going to be fun.
Joining us now to talk about the future of the Democratic Party is Adam Gentleson, founder and president of the Searchlight Institute. He's also former deputy chief of staff to the late Senator Harry Reid. Adam, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's great to
And worked for Fetterman.
Day 43 of the government shutdown looks like
And he has a man bun.
This late tonight. What are your thoughts on the Democratic divisions in the shutdown strategy?
I think what you're seeing among Democrats is a very powerful desire to see more fight from their leaders. And for a while, for 43 days exactly, they thought they were getting that.
Oh, good.
The Democrats' polls were doing better. Donald Trump's polls were going down. Democrats succeeded in making healthcare costs a central focus of the debate, which is something they've struggled to do for a long time. And then I think a lot of them were caught by surprise, especially after the elections last Tuesday, where Democrats did well across the board. They were surprised by this shift in Democrats deciding to compromise and end the shutdown. I think what that reflects is this desire to see fight. For many, many years in this party, we've been sort of...
He's not wrong so far.
...tests which come on ideological issues. And I think what you're seeing today is a shift away from sort of issue-based purity tests towards like a fight-based purity test, where they want to see people fight, they want to see people go up against Trump and oppose him with every tool at their disposal. And so for a while that seemed to be happening, and now that it's shifted, people are a little disappointed.
So they did fight for 42 days, and what the 8 Democrats essentially that said... the fight wasn't working, that we're just prolonging the suffering of the American people.
And remember, he worked for one of the 8 Democrats.
I think there's something to that argument. I don't know that it's resonating among Democrats at the moment. It would probably be best for folks to just sort of let passions cool a little bit before trying to really make that argument aggressively. I've seen some of the leaders of the compromise deal try to get out in front of media and do interviews and try to drive this message, and I don't think that's a particularly good idea. But sure, I mean, I think there's validity to it. I mean, SNAP benefits have been curtailed. There are poor people going hungry in America today, right into the holiday season because of this shutdown. Obviously, that's Donald Trump's fault. He has made decisions that have caused those benefits to be stopped. However, Democrats have this liability of actually caring about the American people and poor people. And I'm using liability sarcastically, for the record. But, they do care about this, as they should. And so the problem is that there's no end game in sight. It was unclear what Democrats would gain if they held out for another week, another 2 weeks,
there was no
3 weeks.
Exit strategy.
There was no exit strategy, which is a problem with the shutdown all along. But that was really coming.
Well, they had demands.
SNAP benefits starting to be denied, with flights starting to be canceled, and so in the absence of an end game, 8 Democratic senators decided to cut a deal and end that suffering that was very real for a lot of the American people.
And there's also the thought that, well, at this point, Republicans own completely anything that happens with health care. Those premiums are going to go up January 1st, and there's nothing Democrats can do about it. What do you think of that?
That's right. I mean, in a lot of ways, Democrats were trying to save Republicans from themselves when it came to health care premiums and health care costs that are going to go up next year by trying to extend these premiums, which are set to expire next year. They were trying to save Republicans from facing a public backlash over health care costs. Democrats didn't succeed in getting an extension, but Republicans are probably going to pay the price for that next year when, because of these rising prices and premiums, healthcare costs are going to continue to be a central focus of the political debate all through next year into the midterm. So, Republicans might have sort of won the battle and lost the war here by defeating Democrats' demand for an extension of the subsidies. they put themselves in a position to face voter backlash next year when premiums go up because of their inaction.
If you'd like to join our conversation with Adam Gentleson about the future of the Democratic Party, go ahead and start calling in now. Democrats are on 202-748-8000.
You know what? I'm going to call.
202-748-8001 and Independents 202-748-8002. A lot of progressives have been calling for Senator Schumer to step down from leadership. Do you agree with that?
I think, generational change is something that is coming to this party, whether our leaders like it or not. And, I think I worked for Senator Harry Reid when he decided to retire. He was up for re-election in 2016. He decided not to run again and step down. I think there's a lot of wisdom in deciding to do that of your own volition. We see that happening right now with former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And she's having a similar experience as Senator Reid did when he decided to step down, which is that you get to define your own legacy. You get to celebrate a storied career, your many successes, and you also have a fair amount of control over what the succession looks like. So there's a lot of advantages to deciding to be proactive about that, and then enjoy.
I've got to pee. I've been trying to stick it out. I don't have a Dan Crenshaw eye pussy in front of me.
A health issue or some other factor, cause you to
How do you think Senator Schumer handled the shutdown?
I think he was put in a very difficult position. I think there was really sort of no clear win here. I think he could have been more decisive. Maybe it would have been better to have taken the heat at the very beginning or sometime before last Tuesday when Democrats really got their hopes up. And then I think there was an aspect of sort of wanting to wait for maybe some outside events to make things easier. So there was a lack of decisive action that I think made this decision harder than it had to be. However, I'm not sure I see a completely different outcome here. Even if people have asked me what would Senator Reid have done, I think probably this would have led to something similar. But it's sort of a series of decisions that have led up to this, where there probably could have been some more decisive action along the way.
Here's John in Germantown, Maryland. Democrat, you're on the air with Adam Gentleson.
Hey, Adam. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call. And I'd like to say this, that first off, President Trump became president because of Democrats. Democrats far outnumber Republicans in this country. And I think that the Democrat Party, a lot of it, was sick and tired of the wokeness going on in the party and the lunacy that's happened and all the lying and the dishonesty, like Biden being a pretty much like a vegetable for 4 years and being lied to about everything. And I think the Democrat Party needs to change and look for more conservative candidates, quite frankly, and get away from all that. And the first thing that happened with Democrat voters splitting off was because of abortion. And the Republican Party took them in with open arms. And the Democrat Party needs to get away from abortion.
All right. What do you think?
Well, I think what I hear in that voter is some justifiable anger at...
Damn, I must have missed something fun.
Biden's state of mind and state of health. And I think that's something a lot of voters feel, and I understand why they feel it, because clearly President Biden was not doing as well as the public was told. That's manifestly clear. It became clear in that debate. And then I think that seems to be dovetailing with anger about other issues where, I think you're actually seeing a movement, probably not as far as this caller would like them to go, but Democrats are sort of...
This guy said the Democratic Party was too woke, or the caller said it?
Used to be able to win seats in the Senate and win in the Electoral College states like Ohio, Indiana, Nebraska, Arkansas. Democrats need to have a little more flexibility and embrace candidates who have positions that reflect the voters' views in those more conservative states. So that's inevitably going to mean having a mix of views, some of which are going to be more conservative. I think a lot about when I worked in the Senate in 2010, Democrats had 60 Senate seats. I know that seems unbelievable today, but the way you got to 60 was by embracing candidates like Ben Nelson, Blanche Lincoln, Mary Landrieu, Byron Dorgan. These were senators who had
Byron Dorgan
views on a lot of issues, but also had conservative views on things like the fossil fuel industry, on abortion. You had a bunch of pro-life candidates in the caucus at that time, more conservative on issues like gun control. And that doesn't mean that other Democrats have to change their views. It just means we have to build a big tent as a party and welcome in candidates who have more conservative views on some issues.
So what about national candidates, i.e. for president? How do you do that? I mean, obviously there's no, you can't say it's according to where you're from, but what do you do in that case? Do you think that the Democratic Party needs to get away from, quote, woke issues?
I think we need to find on the national stage is a candidate who can craft the broadest possible appeal.
We'll see who
and
cancels who.
That because of this desire among the base for
his name is Bernie Sanders,
someone who's pugilistic, who knows how to throw a punch against Trump, you're going to have to find somebody who combines both of those things. There's no reason why you can't be a strong fighter against Trump, but also hold moderate positions on a string of issues, right?
Do you think there is a candidate like that right now?
Name one.
I don't think any candidate in the 2028 field yet is aggressively staking out that lane, but I think they would be wise to do it.
All right, let's talk to Mark in New York, Democrat. Good morning, Mark.
I'd like to speak to the senator about the universal care. That
he is not a senator.
We need to start speaking of it so it can become reality, because we are spending crazy amount of money. And another thing is the subsidies that corporations receive, they are subsidies for health care for their employees. I've talked about this before, and C-SPAN, it's so unfortunate that people are not listening and learning from this channel, even when their senators speak their truth, and they still don't believe it. Thank you, and have a great day.
Dude's like
healthcare,
chastising people for not learning from C-SPAN while calling this dude a senator. Holiday, good morning.
Shutdown. But to the caller's point, there's so much more that needs to be done. And Democrats have sort of gotten away from
light one up, tip one back
as a central issue. After the passage of Obamacare, there was a lot of focus on it. The policy became popular. Democrats got scared off a little bit. But as Obamacare went into effect, the actual planks of that policy, things like allowing young people to stay on their parents' health care until they're 26, ending exclusion for pre-existing conditions, those policies started to kick in, and people decided they liked what was in that bill. So I think it would be.
I think the letting kids stay on their insurance until 26.
Democrats, it is still something that voters give.
Not radicalize
and there aren't
a group of a cohort that would have experienced how horrible our healthcare system is and been radicalized to the left because of it.
Make that issue salient again.
And I think that helped contribute to Donald Trump winning in 2024.
How you doing? I just want to make a comment, if it's okay, from 10,000 feet up. In the words of the great Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Everybody's got to get together and solve all these major, major problems. I don't see
love the one you're with.
Both sides have
nothing
done from other sides. Then we have.
No, wait a minute. That's not Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
To the minutia of all.
That's not the song he was. I'm sorry, I fucked it up.
There's a lot of angry and scared people out there. It's got to be solved. It's got to be solved. People have. I know I'm Pollyannish. People have to come together, guys. That's all I need to say.
Why do we care that you're polyamorous?
I don't think you're Pollyannish, but I am going to fact check you. I think that was Buffalo Springfield, not Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, although Neil Young was in Buffalo Springfield. So anyway, but point well taken. I think the nature of the debate today is very absolutist. People go to their corners. We're in this period of intense polarization. We've never had 3 presidential elections in a row that have been as close as the last 3.
Love the One You're With is a Stephen Stills song. That's why I thought of it.
Everybody's right or everybody's wrong. We're totally divided straight down the line. Or you can think it's got to give one way or the other. Typically in American history, these periods of polarization resolve into dominance for one side or the other, depending on which side does a better job of reflecting what the American people want. So it's a jump ball right now. And I think how it resolves is going to depend on which side does a better job presenting the American people with an agenda they find broadly appealing.
Tell us about Searchlight Institute. What's the mission and why and when did you decide to form it?
So that was a good transition. What we're trying to do is craft an agenda that
you're trying to
we think that
keep the Democrats towards the center.
We want it to be for the liberal side.
A new third way.
And what we have to do in order to do that is to break out of this period of ideological rigidity that has dominated the Democratic Party for at least 10 years. And so we're trying to craft the ideas that will undergird that realignment, that will provide the policy agenda for that, because we do think ideas are powerful. And typically throughout American history, realignments are preceded by leaders offering a different menu of ideas to the American people. So we're trying to help generate those ideas, and then
this is just absurd to me.
Understand
ideological rigidity of the Democratic Party in the last 10 years.
Searchlight mean? Where does that come from?
So searchlight is there's the sort of literal meaning of trying to find a way out of the darkness, which I think is
the Bernie leftist wing is trying to drag the party
but then
towards the left, make it a workers' party that's more representative, to try something else.
Harry Reid.
They're being stopped by dipshits like you who are like, no, let's try being Republican light some more. That's going to work.
The Democratic Party used to be the party of people who came from towns like Searchlight, and I think we need to be that party again.
Let's talk to a Republican in Spokane, Washington. Laura, you're on the air.
Hi, it's nice to talk to you today. I'm calling because I've read what the Democrats are demanding is as far as in healthcare, and what I see is that it does nothing to stop or make things better or lower the premiums whatsoever. It's $1.5 trillion.
What the Democrats are wanting is just a Band-Aid.
Most of it is
for short term.
Giving permission for illegal medical care.
Oh my God.
How that comes about, I don't know. I didn't bother to go that far. But that's what I found by listening or by reading that bill. It's very, very not in the interest of the American premium player. So, and the guy before me finally said, "Hey, it's really blowing up premiums huge." It is. And there's another question also I have, and that's regarding the so-called royalties that go back to certain politicians. I won't mention any names, but there is in Obamacare and in this bill where these things are okay. And so I would
She's talking about a royalty. She thinks that Barack Obama gets a royalty from the government for the name Obamacare. That's a...
Scream obscenities and scream and say awful things about the president.
There's a rumor going around on Facebook.
Fine, man. He went through hell to get back there. And if he was rich, and he was rich before, he ain't making no dang money off of our taxpayer money.
He wasn't rich before. He actually is a billionaire now.
Right, Laura, your response.
So I think...
Fuck!
And I think, I think the voter is correct that a lot of the money that, goes from the federal government does end up as in the form of subsidies to healthcare companies, to health insurance companies. And I think that's a feature of our healthcare system that's sort of the best way policymakers have figured out to pass on savings to people. But I think there's more work to be done to try to, have that money not just be going into the pockets of health insurance companies. There's bipartisan ideas to do this. It's actually something we're going to be working on at Searchlight.
See, I could never be a guest on C-SPAN.
It's correct that the proposal for Democrats would not necessarily lower subsidies, but what it would do is
lower premiums
going up dramatically, which they are on track to do, going up by as much as
it's a short-term fix.
It would save people.
Lady B, welcome in.
Topic. This has just been released.
Good evening for you.
Epstein alleged in emails that Trump knew of his conduct in a message obtained by Congress.
Oh, wow.
Epstein wrote that Donald Trump spent hours at his house with one of Mr. Epstein's victims. The question for you, Adam, is
not surprising.
Getting a good one for Democrats, or is it kind of showing that they're just trying to throw
tick? Those files are days away.
In any way they can.
No, I think this is an issue that has to be litigated. I mean, this is an incredibly serious accusation that's being made against the president. And, we're talking about, we're talking about human trafficking. We are talking about, involuntary. So I'm not going to sort of repeat what's being charged here, but suffice to say, these are about as serious charges as you can possibly get. So if our president has committed those acts, I think it is 100% valid and extremely urgent for the American people to know that. I think it is also an issue where people feel misled. They feel like they've been lied to about what happened here.
Because they have.
Epstein himself. So I think, especially coming out of this week of infighting, this is offering Democrats a chance to turn the page. I see Senator Ruben Gallego driving a clear message here, and I think that's wise for Democrats to follow that lead.
Roger, independent in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning. Well, as an independent, I watch both sides toil with whatever's going on. There's too many distractions by Trump. But the real problem is when you talk about the future, you're talking about generations that people my age, I'm not going to live that long. And so they kind of ignore this national debt issue as kind of a tacit problem in the background. And everybody knows, and the economists are trying to make everybody aware of it, that this thing is going to sink America's economy if we don't get a handle on it. And I found I've worked for 20 months on a formula to fix this thing. And it's going to take between 9 and 15 years to do it. And both parties sit here, and they don't think beyond 4 years, maybe 8 years. So you can't solve something if you're not going to be... There's an initiative where both parties got to get together and decide the one issue that needs to be solved is the national debt. And when you're not paying $1 trillion annually, you get to take that $1 trillion savings, and everybody gets free health care. Now, that's something worth talking about.
All right, Roger.
That is the kind of, we talk a lot at Searchlight about heterodoxy, about, issue ideas that cross party lines and break out of clear ideological boundaries. The caller's idea of bringing down the national debt and using that money to pay for universal health care is exactly the kind of heterodox thinking that we love. Look, I think the caller is correct.
Okay.
As a substantive issue, but also as a political issue.
I got one for you. Medicare for all.
Sort of coming roaring back.
Would help bring down the debt.
And we tried to craft a grand bargain with Republicans, and Republicans ultimately backed out of the deal. I mean, one of the most effective ways to bring down the national debt and deficit is to ask the wealthiest people and big corporations to pay their fair share in taxes, which they are not currently doing. But Republicans have a tendency to like to talk about the debt and deficit, but then not do some of the steps that are required to bring it down in a fair way.
Do the exact opposite.
Georgia Democrat. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. I'm glad to be on the show again for probably about 20 or something time, but I believe that Dick Durbin and those other Democrats caved in thinking, well, just because they're going to get a vote on health care, that's not solving the problem. And that we need to hold the feet to the fire on the ACA. When it was being created, the Congress did not allow the American people to get into their exchange that they have health care with, which probably would be a good thing that Americans could have got into. And last night, I saw Congressman Lawless from New York say, we subsidizing the European health care. No, we're not. They have a flat tax in Europe, most European countries, which is high, that pays for their health insurance, and that they buy the medications from American companies, but they sell it or give it to their people at a much lower cost. Corruption.
They use the power of the government to negotiate.
System is what causes our problems in America. And last year, April, I said we're going to have a dictator in the White House. It's on the C-SPAN archives, April last year when Mr. Cohen was on the show, and I told him, we're going to have a dictator in the White House, and he's going after everybody.
All right, Richard.
This caller has a great memory. Fighting over what kind of health care plans would be available to all people was a big fight during the passage of the Affordable Care Act and then subsequently afterwards. I think the caller is completely correct that that more needs to be done there. We have, but I think what's interesting, I mean, Democrats tried to pass a public option. They didn't have 60 votes for it. Democratic or independents defected and wouldn't vote for
Some
that.
Democrats tried to pass a public option.
Things we need to do on healthcare that we could do if both sides would come together.
Dwayne in Mississippi, independent, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
I would just like to go to the root of some of this stuff.
The root.
Go to the root. There should not be reproduction on a planet where you have to pay for the substances that keep you alive. You see what I'm saying? You should not be born to a place where you have to pay for substances that allow you to live.
I think I agree.
Water, shelter. Those are the things that you must have to be a complete human. So we should not have, that should be, and also on the educational note, I think we have been miseducated from the get-go. No one has asked me about George Washington since I've been out of school, but they have asked me for food. We should be taught to grow food at school, and if your government is on the up and up and it's for the American people, if they go to space, we should have been able to go to space to see where we live and to get that magnitude of where we live. Half of us don't even know where we live.
All
We
right.
only know.
All right, Dwayne, go ahead.
Yeah, the little blue spot, right? That's the famous picture from space, and it is, puts it in perspective, certainly, to see that, to see it in that way.
I don't know that put anything into perspective.
What the caller is describing is sort of the American ideal that, if you work hard and play by the rules, you should not go hungry in this country. And I think that's an ideal we've not yet been able to reach as a country.
I don't think he said anything about working hard and playing by the rules. I think he said everybody deserves fucking food.
Things like Social Security,
Those are two completely different positions.
It's been done by adopting.
He triangulated that.
I think if we're going to reach that ideal, that's what we need to do again today.
That's Adam Gentleson, founder and president of Searchlight Institute. You can find them at searchlightinstitute.org. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
In a few minutes, we'll be joined by Democratic Representative Sam Liccardo of California. He'll discuss his bipartisan
Liccardo
to address the expiration of the ACA subsidies. But first, it's open forum. Here are the numbers.
Yes, open forum.
8,000. Republicans 202-748-8001 and Independents 202-748-8000.
Oh, there's a cat ass.
We'll be right back.
Open forum. This is the fun part.
America marks 250 years, and C-SPAN is there to commemorate every moment.
And we're having a UFC fight.
To the voices shaping our nation's future, we bring you unprecedented.
For the bicentennial.
Exploring.
No, bicentennial?
And spirit.
Hold on.
America.
It has a name.
I've
looked it up.
Celebrating our nation's journey like no other network can. America 250. Over a year of historic moments. Only on the C-SPAN networks.
Semi-quincentennial.
And past president, why are you...
Or bicinquentennial.
This is
Friday, C-SPAN presents a rare moment of unity. Ceasefire.
Bicinquencentennial.
Politico Playbook Chief Correspondent and White House Bureau Chief Dasha
I think we're going with semi-quincentennial.
Two leaders from opposite sides of the aisle into
semi-quincentennial.
On the network that doesn't take sides. Fridays at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
Are you farting on me? I think you are. It stinks. Why are you such a farty cat?
I have been watching C-SPAN Washington Journal for over 10 years now.
This is a great
for over 10 years.
C-SPAN offers. You're doing a great job. I enjoy hearing.
I used to watch this shit when I was in high school.
C-SPAN fan. I listen every morning on the way to work.
I think C-SPAN should be required viewing for all three branches of government.
First of all, let me say I love C-SPAN and how y'all covered the hearings.
Thank you, everyone at C-SPAN, for allowing this.
I really should try to get a job at C-SPAN.
It's an amazing show to get real opinions from real people.
Appreciate you guys' non-biased coverage.
I love politics, and I love C-SPAN because I get to hear all the voices.
You and C-SPAN show the truth.
Back to the universe for C-SPAN. It's the one essential news.
Fuck off. I love C-SPAN. We're getting ready to go into open forum, so it's going to be rapid fire calls.
Washington Journal continues.
Welcome back to Open Forum. We will take your calls until our next guest. And here is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy talking about the government shutdown. Take a look.
We had talked about Thanksgiving and what was going to happen if we got to Thanksgiving.
This guy.
As I was looking at the data with the FAA, my concern was not Thanksgiving. My concern was this Thursday and this Friday. I think that this was the critical juncture where we were going to see
every open forum ages Mimi by a year.
And cancellations. Truly, this Thursday and Friday, I think you would have seen
that poor woman.
Double, triple the number of cancellations and delays in the airspace. So I'm grateful that the Senate and hopefully the House come to their senses and fund the government.
Are you urging House Republicans to pass this bill?
I am. I think it's a good deal, and I think House Republicans should pass it. By the way, I think House Democrats should pass it as well. As you know, the House.
They're probably doing calls
and for 41
Washington Journal up until noon when the House gavels back in.
Again, it's a great debate.
I'm probably going to duck out after open forum and then come back for the House sometime around noon.
Times to keep the government shut down. Republicans were voting to open the government up. And by the way, there was no policy, there was no funding riders on the bill. It was what we call clean. The funding from October was the same as it was in September for the Republicans' bill. And Democrats wanted to put legislation on top of that clean CR, continuing resolution. And the problem with that is we have elections. And elections give majorities to one side or the other in the House and the Senate, and they elect a president. Democrats didn't win the House, Democrats didn't win the Senate, and Democrats didn't win the White House. And so what they've tried to do is leverage the American people, leverage the airspace.
I still can't believe that.
To get their will.
It's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, and some news for you from about an hour ago on X by Oversight Dems. They say this, breaking, Oversight Dems have received new emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate that raise serious questions about Donald Trump and his knowledge of Epstein's horrific crimes. Read them for yourself. It's
yes.
To end this cover-up and
release the files.
Release the files. Also from this morning, Axios reporting Trump officially asks Israeli president to pardon Netanyahu. That's on Axios. Those charges of corruption against Israel's prime minister.
Wow.
And this is Jane.
And Trump is on a pardon kick right now.
Jane.
He's just pardoning everybody.
I'm Jane. I'm a dietitian. I usually call once a month, and I was trying to call earlier about the Abbott Roy discussing systems in healthcare. And as a dietitian, I know that there's going to be great discussion about medical nutrition therapy, the cost of that, wellness versus Maha caregivers. But the main thing regarding information is right now patients can look up their actual health care costs from their bills, be it Medicaid, Medicare, to see how much their cost is in comparison to their insurance. And in Maine, the thing is there's a lot of data collected, maybe not systematically much on a national level, but in Maine, there's the Maine Health Data Organization and the Maine Quality Forum, and they have tried to look at the data and make comparisons on a lot of issues. So a lot of visual data visualization there. So just people need to be looking at their own health expenses. I think that people can do that right now. So I guess that's my call. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. And we will go now to our Representative Sam Liccardo. He's a Democrat of California. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mimi. Thanks for having me.
How will you vote today on the vote?
Wait,
I thought we were doing open forum.
I'll be voting no for several reasons, but most importantly because I've been working over several weeks to try to fashion a bipartisan effort to propose an extension of the ACA tax credits. We came out with a bill with a couple of Republican colleagues just a couple days ago. I think we need to get something done rather than putting Americans through 40 days of misery really for nothing.
Well, I want to show you what Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia said, defending his vote to reopen the government, and then we'll get your response as soon as it's ready, but it's not ready yet. We will get that for you soon. I want to ask about the SNAP beneficiaries in your district. Apparently there's 40,000 people in your constituents that depend on that, and the Senate bill keeps SNAP funding at its current levels for a year. Do you welcome that and that certainty for those beneficiaries?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that will interrupt the cruelty and chaos of having this administration decide for itself whether or not it's going to comply with the law in providing SNAP benefits to 42 million Americans who desperately need that funding. I think this is a welcome departure for sure. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty about a continuing resolution I would support. The real issue is what is missing here, and what's missing is what we've been saying for several weeks all along. We need to fix a healthcare crisis, and right now we are doing nothing but kicking this can down the road about 81 days until we face this crisis once again.
All right, well, here is Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine. Take a listen.
There was no path to any fix on health care with the government closed. So I supported the Democratic position in this from the very beginning until middle of last week. We had a big win in elections in Virginia, and Donald Trump woke up Wednesday morning and decided finally to engage and negotiate. And as I predicted, within a matter of a few days, if the president engages, you can find a path forward. Here's where we were last Wednesday. We had no path forward on health care because the Republicans said we will not talk about health care with the government shutdown. And we had SNAP beneficiaries and those relying on other important services who were losing benefits because of the shutdown. So no path to a health care fix, SNAP beneficiaries suffering. I got into the negotiation Wednesday. I realized we needed to help turn this around. And so now we have full funding for a year for the 45 million Americans, 1 in 8, our most vulnerable people, for SNAP, repairing some of the damage that the Republicans did last summer. We've got a path to a health care debate and vote within a month on the Democratic proposal to fix health care, where we will have a fight with Republicans and see who stands up for Americans.
Congressman Liccardo, he said several times there was no path forward.
Well, I disagree on a couple of levels. First, I think all they got...
Yeah, because he's full of shit. Not Liccardo.
It was a peace promise that at some point Republicans might consider an ACA tax extension, tax credit extension, which clearly they're not bound to vote in any way at all. So the result for the American people is no better. But critically, the timing doesn't help. 81 days from now, when we face the next shutdown deadline, 22 million Americans will already be paying premiums that will be twice as high as they were before. And the rest of us will all be paying higher premiums as well, though perhaps not so severely. This is not a solution. I think there was a path. I had been on the phone with a couple dozen Republicans over the prior 3 weeks. We came out with a bill with a couple Republicans on the bill. And I'd heard from several Republicans that they were willing to support that path.
Did you say a couple of Republicans came on the bill?
Pushback from leadership. The question was, who is going to be out there first?
Ew.
Now the question is, are we going to see leadership or followership? I think this is an opportunity for leadership that we missed.
And Congressman Sam Liccardo, Democrat of California, will take your calls until the end of the program at 10 Eastern. You can give us a call now. Democrats are on 202-748.
Oh, okay, they are wrapping up at 10.
Republicans 202-748.
I'll stick with it.
And Independents 202-748-8002.
That's going to wrap up because I'm going to come back for the vote
Tamarack, Florida.
Around noon.
Good morning, Representative.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking our questions. I have one quick question which requires a yes or no, and then I'd like to go forward on that. Who shut down the government? And
it's not a yes or no.
I know who it is. It was the Democrats. So let's put that to bed.
What?
Now let me ask you another question. I agree with Democrats on this.
It wasn't a question.
Sentiment is in favor, probably on their side, when it comes to subsidies for the ACA for the lower income people. I'm a retiree. I don't have ACA. But I have a hard time paying more taxes. I do well, but paying more taxes to subsidize people who are making more money than I am.
All right, let's get a response. Go ahead, Congressman.
Well, Tony, in response to your first question, last I checked, the Republicans have a majority in the House. The Republicans have a majority in the Senate. The Republicans are in the White House. So who is running the government? The Republicans. As Donald Trump said in 2011, when there's a shutdown, you blame who's in charge, and they're in charge. They could have negotiated, but instead Senator Johnson sent everybody home. We showed up 3 weeks in a row with nobody to negotiate with, surrounded by 200 Democrats here on Capitol Hill.
Carla, Stiggers, welcome in.
The shutdown was engineered from the top, and we understand the cruelty and chaos that is part of the strategy.
Also, we've got breaking news about Epstein. New emails implicating Donald Trump that he knew what Epstein was doing.
I agree that there could be
which is no shock, but we apparently now have evidence
in the current program, and that's why I came out with a bipartisan bill that would actually identify those savings, essentially taking a Republican bill from the Senate, from Bill Cassidy, that would address the upcoding bonanza that too many insurance companies benefit from in Medicare Advantage, I think to the detriment of many U.S. taxpayers. Billions of dollars are going to insurance companies, frankly, wastefully. And so we included provisions in this bill that would address that waste to pay for an extension of the 2-year tax credit and cap it at 600% of the poverty line, which is about $192,000 for a family of 4. That way we could ensure that middle-class Americans and working Americans could benefit, and we could do it without burdening taxpayers or future generations.
Mike in Rio, Wisconsin, Democrat. Hi, Mike.
Yes. Am I on the air?
You are. Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike.
I just want to say that the Affordable Care Act was good. I actually had a hip replacement on it. I used it as the bridge from age 60 to 65 until I went on Medicare. If not for the Affordable Care Act, I would have had to wait 5 years to have my hip fixed. And I want to say this to the representative. I am a lifelong Democrat, and if you think that the Republican parties are going to bargain with you guys, you're crazy. They're not. Speaker Johnson is going to hold you guys hostage. He's going to say, yes, we'll make a deal with the Democrats on the subsidy, but we want the Epstein file to go away because we know Donald Trump is in them all over the place. That's what's going to happen. And the reason why we have a $38 trillion deficit is because of Reaganism and trickle-down economics 45 years.
Is that the deficit or the debt?
90% on billionaires to 10% on billionaires. So blame the Republican Party for our $38 trillion deficit for not paying taxes for 45 years.
All right, Mike. Go ahead, Congressman.
Mike, going to your central point, I agree with you. Look, the ACA has been essential in the case of your own situation and so many millions of other Americans. This is what is extending their ability to work their work years because they're able to get the needed surgery or the critical health care that can keep them going, supporting their families. It is essential. I understand your concern, and I know many share it about whether or not Speaker Johnson would ever negotiate. He wouldn't. He never negotiated with us. That's
he means debt. The deficit is at $1 trillion right now.
Literally with dozens of Republicans over 3 weeks, because I knew it was never going to happen at the leadership level as long as Speaker Johnson was unwilling to even talk.
Ballooning under Trump, by the way. I'm looking at the data.
I understand how it works when you're in charge. You have to negotiate, and you have to negotiate with people you disagree with. And there's plenty I disagree with in the Republican platform. That doesn't mean we can't sit down and negotiate. And frankly, I think we gave up the leverage to do just that 2 days ago in the Senate.
So are there...
ballooned under Trump multiple times.
Not committed to even holding a vote on ACA subsidy extensions. Do Democrats have any options at this point?
Well, that's a good question. We're going to find out in 81 days whether or not there's any real willingness of the Republican leadership to actually engage on this issue.
Oh, you said 38 trillion deficit.
There might be something in the Senate, but as we know, it takes 2 to tango in Congress.
Would you be open to another government shutdown effective February 1st?
Would you be open to another shutdown
on ACA subsidies?
I think we've tortured the American people an awful lot already. I'm trying to propose a pathway forward, and I think there may be better ideas out there than what we've put together with a bipartisan group. And let's hear those ideas, and let's actually do our job in Congress, which is tackling problems rather than kicking them down the road.
Tom in Richmond Hill, Georgia, independent. You're on the air.
Hi, how's everything? Well, the main thing is that politics...
Everything is wonderful.
Where it goes, right? So drugs are the biggest profit maker there is in the world. Who makes this money? This ACA subsidies? drug companies. It doesn't go to healthcare costs. They just say, thank you very much.
He's right.
Fund your next campaign, and we'll
Where's she?
make sure that all the media gets all the gaslighting money they need to hopefully put in Democrats. But it has very little to do with healthcare costs for the average citizen.
Congressman.
Yeah, I appreciate the concern. Look, there's a lot of bad behavior from plenty of actors in this industry.
Not sure I followed that one.
The finger at only one, I would say. Look, you've got PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, that are earning huge margins in the transmission of these pharmaceuticals to the end user. You've got insurance companies. I referred to the upcoding bonanza that too many insurance companies are benefiting from, a windfall that needs serious reform. We've got insurance brokers that are engaged in fraud, literally signing up folks for ACA without their authorization in order to earn commissions. There's a lot of folks who are earning money here that we need to be focused on. Yes, we can enact reforms. Yes, we can save money.
Yes, we can.
We can pay for.
Yes, we can.
Critically needed.
I remember that shit.
I want to go back to your proposal called the Fix-It Act on health care. And you talk about limiting excessive Medicare Advantage payouts to insurers and also cracking down on fraud by insurance brokers. Can you drill down a little bit on those two and explain how that would work, how much money that would save, and why hasn't there already been a crackdown on fraud?
Yeah, so this has been proposed by Senator Cassidy. I'll refer first to the Medicare Advantage issue. What's going on there is the structure of Medicare Advantage creates an incentive for insurance companies to engage in what they call upcoding, which is taking a patient who might be relatively healthy and looking at a whole panoply of whatever past diseases or maladies or whatever they can do to essentially characterize this person as being less healthy than they really are in order to earn more compensation from the government. And so we know that insurance companies are upcoding in a massive way. There's been a lot of studies on the tens of billions of dollars of waste that occurs as a result of this. And the Congressional Budget Office has already evaluated what this particular provision might do in savings, estimated $124 billion over 10 years. If we're able to
I was going to attempt to grab a Maynard, but he's being
in Medicare Advantage
feisty right now
to really undermine the upcoding trend that we see for too many insurers. On the other hand, insurance brokers, this is a provision we took.
Welcome in, my friend.
Democratic colleague. We're taking from both sides. Deborah Ross, what she proposed was a way for us to go after brokers, insurance brokers, hold them accountable, civil and criminal penalties, and ensure there's greater transparency so that consumers are not signed up for ACA plans without their authorization. We know some brokers are out there very illegally, fraudulently earning commissions in this way. There's a lot of waste we can cut. We've got to be focused on the waste while we're doing everything we can to protect vulnerable Americans.
Here's Eric in Glen Burnie, Maryland, Democrat.
I'm focused on Nancy Mace's waste.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Welcome.
Yeah, as far as the ACA goes, when it was passed, the big driver in savings would have been the individual mandate. And when the Republicans got in charge, the first thing they did was get rid of the individual mandate, which they knew would drive up costs so that they could run on something that, okay, affordable.
It wasn't the Republicans. The Supreme Court struck it down.
And the individual mandate, said that, look, we got to have healthy people involved as well.
I guess brought by Republican state AGs.
Go down and keep them down. And once that happened, the Republicans knew that they had a horse they could kick.
All right. What do you think, Representative LaCarta?
Don't kick the horse.
That's an important insight. Insurance pools only work if we get young people and healthy people who are the least likely to get insurance, if we get them into the pool. And that's important. Obviously, it protects them from the risk that still exists of some need for very significant health care. At the same time, it makes it less expensive for everybody. So yeah, we need everybody in the pool, and this really goes to an important Republican talking point, because we hear over and over again about how ACA has failed because we know tens of millions of Americans aren't even filing claims, even though the taxpayer is somehow helping to subsidize through tax credits or otherwise their insurance. Well, the reality is we want lots of people on the health exchange who are healthy, and that means they may not be filing claims. That's okay. It reduces the cost for all of us, but they're still insured. They have the peace of mind of knowing if they're hurt on the job.
Insurance is the cheapest when everyone is in the pool.
Gregory in Ohio, Republican. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
I really enjoy you as a moderator. You do a great job.
Yes, Mimi is awesome.
Going back to this ACA, it never was filled with young people. That was one of the major problems. They didn't go for it, and I have not heard anything about health care during the last 4 years. All of a sudden we have some opportunity for the Democrats to jump on something, and this was pointless.
Well, the ACA subsidies were expiring.
But I really felt that this shutdown was pretty vicious, and that Schumer took a big advantage of it, and his comment on the longer it lasts, the better for him and the Democrats was telling of what it was all about. So,
Congressman.
Gregory, appreciate your points. I think that for tens of millions of Americans, healthcare costs are absolutely top of mind, because right now, as we sit here today, we're in open enrollment, and right now millions of Americans are looking at their choices, and what they're seeing is average premiums increasing at 19% across the board. And for 22 million Americans, those premiums are going up 93%. In other words, they're doubling. For 22 million Americans, these are all working class Americans.
That was a lot of numbers coming at us.
Their rent and pay for everything else they've got to pay for, and still hold on to health insurance. And as a result, millions are going to lose their insurance coverage. So this is quite real, and it's something that I know that perhaps it's not circulating as well on maybe some of the Republican channels, but we've been talking about pretty loudly for many months as we saw the demise of Medicaid through nearly $1 trillion in cuts through the last budget bill. And now this extension of the ACA tax credits, which we have long been warning had to be dealt with before the expiration, which is just in a few weeks. This is the time to do it, because people have to make their decisions now about their insurance choices. They don't have any other choice. So this was a real deadline. This wasn't artificial.
Oh, they're going to take another call.
Retiree, and I have never had a problem with health care because I'm on what they call single payer. The government.
You got the VA, yeah.
Insurance. Why can't we get like most civilized?
Yes.
Pay our taxes and have our taxes pay a single payer program.
Sir, thank you very much for your service.
Yes.
I'll simply say amen. But as you probably might have guessed, we're a long way off in this Congress from getting there. But certainly with a different Congress, perhaps in the 120th, we might have a shot.
All right, one more call for you. Keno in Lakeland, Florida. Independent, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, since Marjorie Taylor Greene has talked about her children having problems with their health care, why don't the Democrats form a coalition and put her in as Speaker of the House to replace Mike Johnson in the coming year? And that would really irk the She would be open, and some Democrats should work to form a coalition with
This is a horrible idea.
Taylor Greene in as Speaker of the House in the coming year. What are your thoughts on
You want her to be third in line to the presidency.
Interesting idea.
No, it's not. It's a batshit crazy idea.
Petition would require much more than just Democratic votes. You'd need a lot.
Don't smoke crack.
That was on crack. Certainly not the majority, but enough in order to get it on the floor. So I appreciate the sentiment. The question is whether or not enough Republicans would agree with it in order to change their choice of Speaker.
Speaker Marjorie Taylor Greene. I wouldn't doubt that it happens someday. So the House is gaveling back in at noon. I'm going to come back on around noon. Maybe a little later. Sometime between noon and 4 is when the vote to reopen the government is expected. Have you ever heard of a sucker fish?
We're interested in the whale's behavior, but what we found is that these suckerfish seem to photobomb our video material quite frequently, and they were hanging out at the same spot. And so over time,
they got photobombed by a suckerfish.
Question, maybe, there is certain places on the whale that are more beneficial for those remorse to spend their time because there's less resistance and they know how to utilize the whale's body.
So I'm gonna be back on
best way possible whenever the
sometime around noon.
Doing in particular fast movements. It appears that the suckerfish were responding very quickly to the movements. And
the House is going to come back into session, and the government
of the body of the whale
supposedly is going to be reopened this afternoon.
An upside down fish. It's a very bizarre appearance.
I mean, me as a content creator would probably really enjoy
the whales delivered, so they can
Marjorie Taylor Greene is the Speaker of the House, but me as an American
on the whale skin, but
recoils at the notion.
So they have their entire meal, and they all have their mates with them as well. So they are mating and
the suckerfish are sucking.
So it's like the perfect vehicle for them. So I suspect that the majority would probably leave at some point, maybe in temperate waters. But then where do they go? Do they?
You tell me. You're the suckerfish expert.
Used as a host and wait until the humpback whales come back. We don't know.
Ah, fuck.
We obviously.
More suckerfish while I find somebody to raid. I'm rusty. I haven't been on in a couple of days.
Photobomb our video material quite frequently, and they were hanging out at the same spot.
I don't know how to do this shit anymore.
Time, of course, we raised that question. Maybe there is certain places on the whale that are more beneficial for those remorse to spend their time because there's less resistance and they know how to utilize the whale's body in the best way possible. Whenever the whale was breaching and doing in particular fast movements, it appears that the suckerfish were responding very quickly to the movements, and they knew exactly when to let go of the body of the whale before it was breaching the surface of the water.
Let's go hang out with Park Horse.
Down fish. It's a very bizarre appearance. And
music and bird cam, I love it. That's what you guys need to do between now and
delivered, so they can
me coming back on to watch this stupid fucking house gabbling back into session.
Whale skin, but as it appears,
I'll see you in a couple hours. Light one up, tip one back. Oh, I can't really do that during the day, so
so they are.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do. However, that doesn't limit your options very much at all.
It's like the perfect vehicle for them. So I suspect that